Hero's Shadow by Feeling Stabby. Read to you by Spirits Don't Cry. Chapter 2. Lies and Confessions.
What?
Izuku immediately flushes, waving his hands out in front of him. Forget I said that. He's an underground hero for a reason, dumbass. No one's supposed to know he even exists, much less know about his patrol routes. Izuku has probably just come off as a stalker. Or worse, a villain. Okay, don't overreact. Chances are he just thinks you're messing around. Eraserhead blinks once, then twice, and Izuku's breath catches in his throat when the underground hero bends down to lift him up by the back of his hoodie, setting him on his feet. The man looks scruffy and tired. Not so much like the murderer Izuku had assumed he was just a little bit ago in the pizzeria. Pushing his goggles up, the hero scrutinizes the boy.
You're faster than you look, Eraserhead grumbles, completely ignoring what Izuku said before. That's your quirk, right?
Yeah, I think so.
You think so? The hero echoes, sounding way too done to be having this conversation.
Izuku turns an even darker shade of red. He hopes the man can't see it. I mean, it's part of it, but not really. It's kind of, well, Eraserhead cuts him off with a shake of his head.
Actually, forget about it. Come on, I'm taking you in.
And that shakes Izuku out of his stupor. Wait, can you hear me out first? I'm sure there are more important things for you to be doing right now, Eraserhead, sir. Like, fighting villains, or, you know, taking in criminals. Izuku is now grasping at straws.
That's what I'm doing, is Eraserhead's only reply. The man stuffs his hands in his pockets and strolls down the deserted street, obviously expecting the boy to follow. Izuku digs his heels into the ground and tries to slow his rapid heart rate. He's too excited to be even offended by his comment. Holy shit, this is actually happening. I just met Eraserhead, like, for real. I just met one of the greatest underground heroes to ever live, and he's currently arresting me. You're not being arrested. You're a witness. Now follow me.
Izuku obeys with shaky limbs, currently starstruck. So, what if his file is going to get even longer after this? It's not like he has to apply for a college or job or whatever. He's meeting one of his idols. So, at the moment, a fucking meteor could strike him down, and he'd probably be okay with it as long as he gets to talk to the man before him. I wonder what his favorite food is, Izuku thinks to himself. I mean, I just saw him at the pizzeria, but I don't think he ordered anything. He was drinking something, though. Might have been a black coffee. He seems like that kind of guy.
Are you hurt?
It takes Izuku a second to realize the hero is speaking to him with his face turned just slightly to stare at him with one eye. The boy flinches on impulse. No, sorry, I'm fine. Eraserhead gives him an indiscernible look before turning away. Alright, that's not suspicious in the slightest. Way to go, Izuku, acting like real pathetic. They come upon the cat officer, who Izuku guesses stopped his chase after seeing him get captured. He's currently standing under a streetlight with crossed arms, and he steps forward once they get close enough.
Thanks for catching him, Eraserhead. He's very slippery.
The underground hero grunts, pulling a bottle out of his pocket and squeezing liquid into his eyes. Izuku briefly wonders if he smokes. There's no way a guy who looks like that doesn't. What's his plug?
Midoriya.
Oh, nah, he's spacing out again.
Yes?
The officer huffs, taking him by the arm. Izuku has to stop himself from kicking in retaliation.
We're going to the station. Eraserhead here is coming with us.
Ooh, he says, inwardly dumbfounded. He covers it up with a flourish of his free hand. You know, I think this is the most fun I've had in my 7 times of being arrested by you. Cathead drags him along, hissing. Yes, he's actually hissing. Izuku shouldn't be surprised.
The day I actually get to arrest you is the day I finally retire. You can quote me on that.
Don't worry, I will. The boy swears he hears a small snort from behind him. Must have been the wind, because it just couldn't have been the emo hero trailing after them.
The walk to the station isn't long, as the library is only a few blocks away from it. Izuku can't help but smirk as he's led inside, and he greets the night shift employees with finger guns. They respond back with groans and muffled complaints. Izuku counts that as a win.
Stay here,
Cathead orders, pointing at a spot on the ground.
I'll get the detective. Don't move.
As soon as the man disappears down the hallway and out of sight, Izuku spins on his heels to walk right out the door. He's done this plenty of times before. In all honesty, Cathead should have expected him to do this every time he leaves him unsupervised. He smacks into Eraserhead's chest immediately upon turning around. The hero standing in front of the doorway, looking down at him with tired eyes. It's only been like a minute. I already forgot he's here. He's too quiet. Deciding that he won't, in fact, square up to one of his idols, as he'd surely lose spectacularly, Izuku takes a few steps back and decides to go annoy one of the other cops after quickly apologizing to Eraserhead. If he can't escape, then he has to wait, so naturally, they're going to suffer the consequences of keeping him here. He needs to water his fake plants. His imaginary fish needs to be fed. He has to get at least a few hours of sleep tonight before his next test tomorrow. He has no time. He's about to start bouncing off the walls, quite literally, since quirk usage is permitted inside the building, when approaching footsteps cut off his train of thought.
Why am I surprised? Detective Tsukachi sighs, strolling into the room with a cup in his hand. It smells suspiciously like coffee. Izuku wants it.
You really shouldn't be anymore.
Izuku agrees, eyeing his beverage with malicious intent. Tsukachi sighs, pinching the bridge of his nose. Alright, you know the drill. Come with me, Midoriya. But Izuku's already walking his way over to one of the interrogation rooms down the hall. And not even a minute later, Izuku's sitting in that uncomfortable chair, waiting for the detective to come in.
All this shit is making me hungry again. I wonder what Kachan is doing right now. Tsukachi enters the room with a few papers in hand. Izuku's files, from the looks of it. He sets a new coffee on the table and peers at the boy. Tell me what happened, Midoriya. With an exaggerated huff, Izuku folds his arm and pouts. Okay, in my defense, I was just going over to the library this time, I swear. I was walking over and heard someone scream, so I went over and stopped what looked like a potential aggravated assault case. He jerks his head at the wall opposite of him, knowing the other interrogation is happening beyond it. I'm sure she's telling your men what happened, so why are you keeping me here?
Tsukachi fixes him with a glare. Because according to Eraserhead, you used your quirk to stop the fight, not to mention try and escape my officers. You were the only other witness to the crime.
Izuku keeps his face carefully blank as his mind suddenly fills with thoughts. Eraserhead saw me step in? I didn't sense him there, though. Is he just making that part up to get me to admit it? That's not fair, he objects. You know my quirk is active most of the time, detective. It's hard to just turn it off.
The detective quirks a brow incredulously. Eraserhead responded to the victim's scream just after you did. He decided to watch what you would do, and he specifically told me that you spent a moment to power yourself up. I don't consider that being accidental, son.
Izuku wants to smash his head against the table. It seems like his idol is a stalker as well as a snitch. I've got a question, Izuku starts abruptly, wanting to get the man off track. Does your quirk work over the phone too?
What? The door slides open, and an unfamiliar head pokes its way in.
Sorry for interrupting, sir, but the criminal we just brought in woke up. He's fighting back, and the boss would like your assistance.
Tsukachi has never looked this tired, Izuku decides. I'll be right there. He stands up and gestures for Izuku to do the same. You can move around, but stay in the building. We'll finish this in a few minutes. And with that, he's gone, leaving Izuku to his own devices. Which is mistake number 1. They keep the criminals in the eastern part of the station, and I'm in the western part. The offices are past the interrogation rooms, so I have a wide open shot. Izuku did want to go to the library to get some much-needed info, but since that's not happening, he'll have to settle for something better. Tsukachi's office is the third one down, and it's by far the biggest. After checking to make sure no one's looking, Izuku darts down the hallway and slips inside, quietly closing the door behind him.
It's fairly clean, if not a little bare. The detective seems to be a simple man. Practically skipping over to the rolling chair and plopping down, Izuku shakes the man's mouse. It's already on, so there's no need to scout for the computer's password. It also appears to be on a random file, which makes things easier. Izuku digs around in his boot and pulls out a flash drive, praying he has enough room on it after his latest library visit. He hasn't cleaned it out in a long time. He blows off the dirt on it from his recent escapades, plugging it in correctly only after the 14th try. The boy copies as many files as he can get his hands on, dragging the mouse back and forth to cover the 100 folders he can see. Hopefully, he'll get something useful. He doesn't know how long he has until Tsukachi finishes up with whatever the chief wanted with him, so he has to be quick. There's a lot of data on this computer. Just by glancing at the folder names, Izuku can tell some of the files date back to as far as a few centuries ago. There's information on organized crime groups and their hideouts, on their victims and members. This is some good shit right here. Much better than what Izuku would have managed to find at the library. There are voices down the hallway, and Izuku hears the door to one of the interrogation rooms opening, probably to check if he's in there. Panic slithers up his spine like a snake, and Izuku frantically yanks the flash drive out of the computer and shoves it up his sleeve. The boy has just enough time to click on the original tab before the office doors swing open, revealing an annoyed Detective Tsukachi.
"What are you doing in here?" the man asks, shooing him to his feet.
Watching porn is what Izuku wants to say, but then he sees Eraserhead standing against the wall behind the detective, watching the scene with that same unreadable expression. Okay, I really don't want to say that in front of one of my heroes. I was looking at your pictures. Izuku grabs the nearest photo on the desk, and it just so happens to be what looks like Tsukachi's dog. I didn't take you for a dog person. What breed is it? Tsukachi stares at him in disbelief for all of 5 seconds, eyes going hazy as he seems to rethink his life choices.
"You know what?" he sighs, taking the photo out of the boy's hand. "Just get out."
Trying to hide his nerves, Izuku slips past the two men and walks to the main area to wait.
"To wrap this up," Tsukachi concludes, emerging from the corner, "I only kept you here to hear your side of the attack. This is a minor issue, and because you're underage, I can't really charge you for this, same as your other crimes, but this will be going on your record."
The boy can't help it. He grins. Something tells me you really don't want to put me in jail this time.
Tsukachi stands and heads for the door. "Don't get too happy. It's past curfew for kids your age, so I'll be going home with an escort."
What? It's the detective's turn to smile at him, looking entirely pleased with himself.
"You heard me. Since no one else wants to do it, Eraserhead here will take you home."
You gotta be shitting me.
"And please, try to refrain from putting yourself in danger again. At least for the rest of the week. I already have enough paperwork to do without you adding on to it."
Izuku gives the man a short nod, even though both of them know that no amount of scolding is going to change anything. He looks at Eraserhead, who's been standing to the side silently up until this point.
"Come on," the man grumbles. "My shift's already over."
I mean, you didn't have to agree to this. This is your fault for snitching on me. The walk is awkward, and Izuku comes to find that Eraserhead walks incredibly fast. The hero is walking a few yards ahead of him, despite the fact he doesn't know where Izuku lives. It's like he's waiting for the boy to take the lead, or he's just waiting to see how long Izuku will let it happen. Or maybe Izuku's thinking too much into this, and the man has actually forgotten what he's supposed to be doing. But just as Izuku plans to slip into one of the alleyways and out of view, Eraserhead glances back at him, as if reading his mind. He doesn't say a word, but the boy can feel his impatience hanging heavy in the air, as if silently telling him to hurry the hell up. Rushing forward to continue walking beside the man, Izuku tries to slow his erratic heart rate. The power the hero's quirk exudes is overwhelming, thrumming underneath Eraserhead's skin even when he's not using it. Izuku has to block out his own senses to focus on trying not to ramble. He's so cool. There's a high chance his quirk doesn't work on mutant types, so he basically fights quirkless half of the time. He's very skilled. He has a 98% success rate concerning missions, which is one of the highest Izuku's ever seen, rivaling All Might himself. I may admire him, but I can't get too close. What if he likes Meta Rabbit? Does he even know about Rabbit? Or is that below his pay grade? Actually, how much does he get paid? Doesn't he have another job on top of this one?
You're mumbling, kid.
Izuku wishes for a bus to come speeding by at 100 miles per hour so he can conveniently step out into the middle of the road. Fuck. Did he hear the rap about? He couldn't have. He wouldn't be acting so nonchalant if he did. Izuku thought he stopped this little tick of his a long time ago. He hasn't rambled out loud this much in years, not since. Fabric wraps around his wrist, stopping Izuku from crashing face first into it. He stumbles and almost collides with Eraserhead yet again, only just managing to right himself in time. Sorry, he squeaks, covering his face with his hands. I'm not usually like this. The hero grunts. He sounds annoyed, though to be fair, that seems to be his default emotion.
Just try to pay attention.
Izuku nods quickly. I will. Sorry about that. Eraserhead gives him a weird look before turning away again, continuing the walk to who knows where. Wait, now that he's thinking about it, where is Izuku going to take him? He can't just lead him to his actual apartment, which is the entire top floor of an abandoned building in the worst part of the city. That's what police call illegal. He'll be sent to an orphanage if anyone finds out he's homeless. He can just take Eraserhead to Kachan's house. Then he'd run the risk of Auntie accidentally exposing him. It's past midnight after all. He has no reason to be knocking on his best friend's door when he's not even expected to be there until tomorrow evening. The only logical explanation would be go to a random apartment complex and hope that Eraserhead won't try to talk with his parents. There are a few of those buildings a few blocks away from where my place is. I can try there. I know the lady who owns it. She won't let Eraserhead in if he comes in after me. That sounds like a solid plan. Now just to put it into action. Izuku tries to gather up the courage, but finds it difficult. God, he's Rabbit. He shouldn't be having such an issue talking to a pro hero. He clears his throat. I live down by City Hall. It's like a 15-minute walk from here. Eraserhead grunts. He fucking grunts. Again, without saying anything. Izuku isn't nearly as irritated as he thought he'd be. The boy nervously shoves his hands into his pocket. Fingering the flash drive, he drops in one of them. There's probably so much stuff on it, he already knows he's not going to get any sleep tonight. Maybe I can get more leads on that drug ring. They're still walking, and Eraserhead stays just a step or two ahead of him the entire time. It's not exactly a bad quiet, as Izuku is used to silence. He lives in it, so he's not exactly a stranger to it. He can deal. But there's something about the way the underground hero holds himself that tells Izuku that he's waiting for something. He's thinking. About what? It's not like the boy can outright ask him. Izuku takes a chance and speeds up so he's the one slightly in lead. So, why are you in this part of town? He immediately cringes, hearing how aggressive he probably just sounded. I mean, not that you can't be here, it's just that you usually never come down this far on your patrols unless you're going to see the detective, and even then you don't stay for long, and it's usually only when you're already done with your shift, and Eraserhead stops in his tracks and stares at him, nose crinkling.
Do you make a habit of yelling out the secrets of all the heroes you first meet, or am I the first case?
Izuku's mouth snaps shut immediately. Okay, that was a bit rude, but I deserve that. Sorry, he says sheepishly, looking at the floor. The hero sighs and glances up at the sky before turning back to him. Izuku suddenly realizes just how tall the man is.
Don't be. Now listen, here's the deal. I can feel your brain working from where I'm standing, kid. You can ask me one question, but then I get to ask you one in return. We can go back and forth.
Izuku blanches. What does he want to know about me? Not important. Unless he has linked the boy to Rabbit. And then Izuku better be ready to run for his life. Like ping pong? Izuku asks. The man pauses as if to gauge if he's joking or not. He must not find anything, as it's only a moment later when he huffs out something like a laugh. Sure. Ooh, can I go first? Izuku doesn't wait for a reply. Can you use erasure on multiple people at once or just one person? I've never seen you do it to more than one, at least on camera, and I really want to know if... Eraserhead keeps his voice clipped.
Multiple. How do you know so much about me?
Izuku barely has time to process the first part before the fidgeting starts up again, his previous embarrassment coming back full force. I just like to study people and their quirks, sir. I think they're fascinating, and I've always liked to analyze things. He runs a hand through his hair. I guess it's just a hobby.
Ask your question.
Oh, yeah. But your goggles. I've been wondering, why do you have the slits in them? There has to be a reason you'd go for that look instead of wearing actual protective gear. They continue like that for the majority of the walk, and Izuku learns that most of the theories he's made about Eraserhead are correct. His quirk works through sight, and it wears off when he blinks his eyes, which is why his goggles look the way they are. It prevents villains from knowing where he's looking. The man fights essentially quirkless against mutants, and he uses his capture weapon to aid in both long-range and close-range combat. He's trained his entire life to be able to do the things he can. I wonder if I can reach that point someday. Izuku pushes that thought away. Being a hero is just a dream for him. He may have completed all of his education online, making him eligible for a hero school if he wanted to go that route, but he doesn't really have a choice. I can't let myself be known. I get to do the same things a hero can when I'm Rabbit. I just wish I could be more for people.
Do your parents let you out this late at night?
Eraserhead asked abruptly, looking straight ahead. I live with my dad. Izuku lies easily, making sure to mask the discomfort on his face. He knows I go out here all the time. He just doesn't care. A lie that bad can only be the truth.
He doesn't care.
The hero echoes. There's a slight upturn at the end of his voice, and Izuku freezes. It's not that he doesn't care. He just knows that I can take care of myself.
Izuku gives him a sidelong glance, but leaves the topic alone. Izuku tries to distract himself by asking him more questions about his hero life, but the calculating look on the black-haired man's face never leaves. Great. Way to keep him off your tail, you piece of shit. A few minutes later, Izuku spots the building he talked about. The owner works in night shift at the desk area, which Izuku is internally grateful for at the moment. He spots her face through the lit-up glass doors, and he waves at her from the street. She doesn't seem to notice, but Izuku turns around anyway to say goodbye to Eraserhead, hoping he won't follow him in. Thank you for taking me home, sir. I'm sorry for wasting your time. Izuku bows low and straightens up just in time to catch the momentary confusion on the man's face. Eraserhead unsurprisingly grunts, and so Izuku starts to head up the steps to his apparent home. One more thing, kid.
Izuku turns to ask him what's wrong when he suddenly sees it. The lights behind the boy allow him to see what Eraserhead holds up between his fingers. A flash drive. A very familiar flash drive. The hero doesn't even flinch when Izuku practically leaps down the stairs, eyes wide with panic. What? How did you?
Nope. It's my turn to ask a question.
Eraserhead almost looks smug as he continues.
What were you planning on doing with Tsukauchi's files?
It's not a question, more of a demand for an answer. Izuku digs his nails into his palm, panic rising like putty in his throat. Nothing bad, I promise. I just wanted some new people to study. That's it.
So you thought stealing police records was a good way to continue your hobby?
Fuck. How did he get it out of my pocket without me noticing? No one has ever been able to do that to me before. Why him? And why now, out of all times? Izuku fumbles with the sleeves of his hoodie. Kinda? There's another beat of silence spent with Eraserhead looking him up and down, the flash drive still in hand.
You do know, he starts slowly, there are other ways to get information like this. Almost all of the libraries in the software offer free, legal archives of past criminals. It sounds like a rhetorical question, but Izuku can't stop himself from answering. I mean, I was heading to one before the mugging happened and, threw off my plans? You didn't have to intervene.
And that has Izuku shutting up because he's right. It's not Izuku's job to stop crime or to put himself in danger to help someone else. He just likes to be a decent fucking human being sometimes. But still, Izuku shouldn't have stolen those files. Not that he regrets it, though. He'd do it again if he was given the chance. He hangs his head, hoping for the best. He doesn't know what he'll do if he doesn't manage to get Eraserhead off his back. I'll use the resources given to me next time, he promises. Can I please have the flash drive back now, sir? I didn't copy any of the important files. For a moment, Izuku thinks the man will scoff and tell him he's crazy and that there's no way he'll give it back to him after what he's done. The hero can definitely bring him in for this. Because isn't stealing government property federal crime? But then, in a move that's almost anticlimactic, Eraserhead steps forward and places the drive in his hand, already turning to take his leave after fixing Izuku with an intimidating glare.
It's not like you can use most of that information negatively anyways. Just don't do it again. You'd only be giving the detective more of a reason to put you in jail. Understood? In slight shock, Izuku's head shoots up. Thank you. I didn't think you'd actually give it back. The underground hero jumps away, capture weapon flying out to wrap around a pole and pull him up. It reminds Izuku of that really old comic book hero from America. Was it Spider-Man or something? Whatever the name may be, Eraserhead disappears into the night with the same amount of grace that web slinger himself had. Just like that, leaving Izuku alone in front of an apartment complex he doesn't even live in. Did that really just happen? Everything feels kind of like a fever dream right now. The glass doors behind him slide open. Izuku turns to face the owner's concerned face. Izuku? Is that you? Why are you out of this time at night? It's way too cold out. After assuring the woman that he's not, in fact, going to freeze to death, Izuku shoves the flash drive back into his pocket, where it will hopefully stay this time, and trudges away with a quick goodbye. It takes Izuku another 5 minutes to walk to his actual place, and by the time he's climbed the many flights of stairs to the top floor where he lives, he's shaking with nerves. I need to pay more attention. You could have arrested me. You should have. And I don't think I could run from Eraserhead of all people. He kicks open the mahogany door and slams the flash drive down onto his makeshift desk. You better be worth it, you sad piece of plastic. Now I've got a pro hero watching me. This is all your fault. Izuku slumps into his chair and glances at the clock. It's late, or early, depending on what type of person you are. Izuku knows sleep won't come easy to him after the day's events, so he just logs onto his beat to hell generator-run computer and goes to pick through the files. He's only got a few hours until daylight. He can pass the time for that long, at least with some instant coffee. That's about the only food he has in the apartment, besides some packs of instant ramen noodles. And even then, he doesn't even have a way to heat up water for it. Man, I really do need some help. I'm gonna also say the notes, because I also find them funny. Petition to let Aizawa and Izuku sleep. Seriously, my boys need some self-care. Correct. And I would definitely read chapter 3, because this actually was a pretty short chapter. I just cannot speak currently. But I currently have destroyed my fucking throat because I'm doing this while I have a sore throat. So, not the best idea, but I wanted to get something done for you guys. Anyways, that was such a fun chapter, honestly. Mostly Eraserhead and Izuku. And Tsukauchi. I like how Tsukauchi just got completely done with him. He was just like, nope, get the fuck out of my office, come on. Like, he doesn't even care. He's just like, I literally do not want to put you in jail, so just leave and never come back. Got it? And Izuku shows up like the next day, like, hi, I'm back. It's so funny. Anyways, hope you had a fun time listening, and I'm hoping maybe you could give me some serotonin by either liking the video or just leaving a little comment that shares some love. And I'd appreciate if you could share love to a lot of other creators. People such as Cool and Eleanor Elizabeth and Rat Overlord. Cool is honestly one of my new favorites. I'm not gonna even lie. I mean, come on. They're posting like 3 to 4 chapters of this one fanfic, and I'm just like in love with it. They posted like 4 chapters at a time, I think. And they posted like 10 chapters one time, and I was just like, oh my god. So, yeah, they are amazing. So, go subscribe to Cool. It's Coul. Cool. I don't know how to say it, I'm sorry. And, like always, please stay healthy. Unlike what I'm doing right now. Drink your water. Take meds if you need to take your meds. Brush your teeth. Take a shower if you haven't. I need to go take a shower. It's been about a month since I've taken my shower. I'm not gonna lie, I'm horrible with self-care, but I'm trying to get better. And with that, I'll see you later, my ghouls. Bye. Izuku shouldn't be surprised. I have to hiss now? What the fuck do you mean?